I'm sorry, but anyway.
Perfectly fine. Let's call the meeting to order at 5:07. You prepared to take notes, Tim?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this is it. Doug and Dave told me they couldn't make it, and just to catch you up, I talked to Scott, and his term was up, and he
Oh.
decided not to renew.
Oh,
Yep. He's dealing with his mom's estate, and he's feel like he's served out a lot of boards and stuff, and
yeah,
he just
he really has.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
anyway,
true.
so
It feels like he was here.
kind of quick.
in a flash. Right.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
buddy, yeah.
Not
Me-
you.
Not me. I know.
No flash there.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I couldn't believe my term was so anyway. So
Anyway.
we need a new person.
So
We
so
are.
new person. So I guess I just if you know of anybody, let's try to get some names or have somebody who wants to be a guest for September.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. You know, I think I had a couple of people that I had vaguely in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So you too, Matt, if you know anybody. You know, and to me, it's not a hard thing. I managed to make it here, and you know, for the most part, it's whatever,
Yeah.
not so bad.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway, and I
there's gonna be
apologize.
some heavy lifting over the next year with
Could be.
the survey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing which I'll talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. With the minutes,
Minutes.
Yes.
one typo. The bullet MJ. It says was not forwarded. I mean has not forwarded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
That's
well.
all.
Right, oops. Let me find the minutes.
Yeah, my laptop died, so
Oh,
you know.
oh dear. Okay, which paragraph, which bullet?
If you go down to where it says
Oh, MJ.
MJ,
It's like the
Oh,
fourth or
okay.
bullet one.
MJ,
almost at the
it
bottom.
says, I think it should be has not forwarded.
Has not
Window
forwarded the
replacement
window, yes.
Specs, that's all.
No, they were supposed to be forwarded to me.
Oh, they were not forwarded to her.
Right,
That's a good point there.
those are
Oh,
the-
you're
That's
talking,
a
is MJ supposed to be you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
not MJ
Adams?
Yeah, I
Who's
know.
retired
Come
now.
on
Who's
now.
reti-
So
Come on,
confusing.
come on.
Yeah.
All right, shorthand.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes it's
Okay.
not so
So
short.
that's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Good
All
thing we
right.
talked about that.
You can understand my confusion.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
It was not forwarded, okay, so you didn't get the windows that we were promised, the specs. Right, okay, got it.
Nor do we technically
Have anything to say about it, yeah.
Yeah. And they're in, they're done, it's over,
So that's history
that's
now.
that, yeah.
Literally. Okay, so
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yep.
With that one. Yep. Second. All right. All in
Second,
favor?
so moved.
Aye.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I know it's always.
Thank Tim for his usual duty of doing it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it even more, Tim.
Having to do it.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
Let's see.
But so you're up too this year,
I've already been sworn in, new term.
good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to put it out there, make sure that, well, if you feel like your term is up and nobody's reached out to you,
Yeah.
call Caitlin at the town hall, contact
Yeah.
me, do whatever to try to get the ball rolling, because
Right.
surely this commission is not the most important thing happening in town.
But
One of the top 100,000 things.
probably in the top 100, I'd say.
I feel like that's a stretch.
You'd squeak in.
500, 250. Okay. Anyway, so be aware of that. Also, so I've stepped down from the CPC, and Dave Brock is set
Right,
to
saw
be
that.
sworn in.
Oh,
that's
he's
out there.
set to be sworn in.
Yes,
Saw that
yes.
in
Okay,
the
good.
minutes,
He's set to
yeah.
be sworn in. Yeah.
Good.
Great, and then I'll get on the website.
Good.
hopefully.
Yeah.
All right.
But I will say that they just sent out the email that the pre-application period is out now.
Okay.
So that's immediate release that they just sent out today.
Oh,
All right.
Yep.
So you know, just a here. All the documents are on the town website, greenfieldmass.gov/CPC funding. You can find everything, and deadline for one-page application, pre-application is September 15th,
Okay.
which is like a
Oh,
month.
right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
All right, so, anyway, so happy to pass forward that information. We also have demolition delays, can I go there? Just a couple. There was one on Elm Street, nice little barn, no roof.
No roof?
Yeah, I mean, like, looks nice, no
Yeah.
roof.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So, okay. you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I just got an email an hour ago about one on Turner's Falls Road, which is another falling down garage.
Okay.
So pretty straightforward with that, I think. And that's all I have for demolitions.
Okay.
Do you want to?
I'm owing you a couple of things.
Yeah.
One thing I owed you was that we wanted to take a look at the history of the church, the Zion Church, which I did. I did the research on it.
Yeah.
And as we know that the thing dates back to, it was originally built 1842, and it was over in the Quabbin, where the Quabbin is now. It was the Coldbrook Springs Baptist Church, and so went back and looked, and when the Quabbin was flooded, the people that were doing it documented all the buildings. And so we have photographs of it in its original state
Oh, cool.
before it was moved.
Wow, cool.
With the old steeple on it. It had a different steeple. This is the picture, one of the pictures here. As you can see, it had a short kind of squatty steeple, as compared to today's pretty nicely proportioned steeple that it has now.
Mm-hmm.
The Cold Spring was actually on the periphery. It was not one of the towns that was flooded. It's a Cold Spring village, and it was really on the periphery of the flooded area, but it was enough that they had to move that church. And as we know, the church was purchased by the Christian Scientists who moved it here to Greenfield, took it apart and moved it. They didn't need the bell because they don't use bells. So they sold the bell to Second Congo Church on Common, where it is still hanging and ringing.
Wow. Wow. That's kind of a cool little.
The original bell
Interesting.
at Second Congo had cracked, and so that was melted down and made into souvenir bells that were sold to raise money for the church.
Wow. Where'd you find all that information?
That's what I do.
That's what you do. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, and so and I've never seen one of those bells. I've heard about them, but I've been looking for one for years. But
Were they?
They had little. They were cast.
Did they
bronze
have
bells.
any like
Yeah,
dates like stamped in it or
there was
cast
a
in it?
message on the bell.
No way.
It said something about Second Congo or something, but I don't know exactly because
So
I've
that
never
would have
seen
been
one.
in 38 or around that
Well,
time?
it would have
Or after that?
quite a while ago, and I'm not sure the exact date of that. But at any rate, that my understanding is that the bell that was originally on in Cold Spring is the one that's hanging up there, and I've greased the bearings on that bell many times, so it's still hanging there and it's still ringing the hours every hour.
Well, that is, yeah.
The church itself, as we know, was moved, and then it was taken over by several different places. There's another name for that church, by the way. It was also called the First Baptist Church of Barry. And
Okay.
it was also known as the Coldbrook Baptist Church, because it was Barry, Mass. was actually the town.
Coldbrook is like a
Coldbrook,
name
one word.
village of
Village.
It's
Barry.
a village
Yeah.
of Barry, yeah. So they purchased that parcel that the people that were doing the Quabbin did, as they did a
Yeah.
purchase of them, and then, and I don't know what the purchase price of the church itself was, but I do know that they took it apart and numbered all the pieces and then brought it over here and reassembled it.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. And then but then they did change steeple to make it a little bit better architecturally, and I don't know who did that work.
Yeah, and I mean, there must have been coverage in the recorder back then, right?
Oh, yeah, I would imagine there was,
I think it
sure.
would be a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's several views of it here. This is what it looked like from the side.
Mm.
In the Quabbin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually own an old church that I live in, so it was really interesting. I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened to my bell.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
I
it
need
is,
to
yeah.
talk some more, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what it looked like before they took it apart, and the paint job was a little bit different and so forth.
Yeah.
And that whole Barry area had a long history of churches being used for, I mean, some of the churches were used for, they went out of business and were used for, actually for manufacturing and things like that, but this was not among them as far as I could tell. There were several churches over there that became tobacco processing places, and they had other things that they ran out of the old building.
Its original.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, that's the information on that.
Well, last month, you missed it, Tim, but we looked it up on Mass Historic and they,
Yes, I saw that in the
archived there,
minutes.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the interesting thing I thought was the minister there was anti-slavery
Yeah.
and,
Well, that was a hotbed of abolitionism over there, and
that's
there was a
where
lot
I'm
of
searching
meetings.
for.
There were a lot of meetings. There were meetings in that church and other
Yes,
churches as well that
yes.
were held at abolitionist speakers,
Right.
including some of the more famous ones that came out to that area to give speeches.
Yeah.
And this church was certainly probably one of those locations for
Yeah.
speeches of abolitionists.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, but that was a hotbed of abolitionism anyway in Massachusetts. There were several, but that central Mass area around there was one of them. Because Worcester was a big thing. Yeah, that was where the women's conventions were held, and that's where the abolitionist societies met and
Yeah.
so forth. It was a very apparently
Would
very
think-
liberal
who
place.
would think of Worcester
I
as
know,
being
right? I wonder why.
not today?
And yeah,
Not
and,
around today.
I've seen that when I used to live in Athol, and
Yeah.
they have a historical marker at one of the houses there that was
Yeah.
part of the Underground Railroad.
Right.
So that makes sense. That region
Sure.
of the state
Sure.
was.
But if you remember, there was
Yeah.
when the women's vote suffrage movement started, there was a big convention out in New York State
Right.
Yes.
where they had nominated
Chappaqua.
Seneca.
Anyway.
Seneca
Yeah.
Falls.
Yeah, Seneca Falls. Right.
But then they moved that convention to Worcester, and they held that convention for a number of years before the Civil War in Worcester. And then when the Civil War started, they dropped that whole effort and turned their attention to other things. Then after the war, they went back to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those were early days was Worcester. So
Yeah. Wow.
Well, have
Anyway.
we heard anything more?
anyway, so that's
We haven't heard
one
anything
thing.
more.
The other thing is this battlefield survey.
Yes.
And what we've got right now is we've got a fully equipped and operating archaeological unit, which is working, was originally out of the University of Connecticut. Now it's a private concern. It's under contract to the Battlefield Advisory Commission, which is what meets in Turner's Falls, but it's being paid for by the National Park Service. And as I've said before, half of the members of the board are local historical commissions. The other half are representatives of the two federally recognized tribes and two state recognized tribes, Nipmucks and Wampanoags and so forth. And the status of the thing right now is they have done mapping for several years using metal detecting to find musket balls primarily, as well as other artifacts. And they've searched the area around the Falls River, and White Ash Swamp, and so forth. And now this effort is going to go through Greenfield.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And they've got maps. These are some of the maps that show areas that they're interested in town. I've got a set of these maps that show the places that they particularly want to look at, and I have a database of the addresses and names of the people that own those properties. And so what they're going to do is they're gonna start contacting those property owners, and they're gonna ask them to sign a permission form that allows them to come on their property to do metal detecting.
Yeah.
They have 4 or 5 detectorists that work for them who are really, really good at this. They're like super good at
I
it.
wanna say, I
They're
wanna know
not-
what they do.
You
how
know,
they
they're
do
not
it.
the coin.
Like me, yeah.
These are the guys that know
Tinfoil,
what, you know,
bottle caps.
yeah, they really know what they're doing. And so these guys will start working, and then we need to get the permission signed up. And so what I'm looking for is a list of names and phone numbers and contact information for people who are willing to help in that effort,
Yeah.
okay? And the way it would work is they would first meet with these people that are gonna be conducting the survey, and they would get a briefing. And then you would look at this database, and you would say, for example, John would say, oh, that he's 3 houses down from me.
Yeah.
Or I know him from work,
Yeah.
or whatever, like, for example, just a quick glance at, I knew several people that are on this list.
Yeah, there's a couple people that I know in
Yeah,
that neighborhood.
and
yeah.
so what you do is you get a hold of them and you say, would you mind having these guys go on your property? And all they're gonna do is they're gonna metal detecting, there's no bulldozers, there's none of that stuff. And if you agree to that, you're not agreeing to anything else. You're not agreeing to them coming and taking over your property or anything like that, it's just
Just
a
make
question.
coffee all day long or anything like that.
No, you don't have to make coffee. Apple pies are not turned down. But what they do is when they find something of interest, they do the same thing that you do when you're doing a putting green, you're doing a hole in a golf course.
Yes.
They put a plug thing in there and pull it out and find the object, and then they put it back. So it doesn't leave any trace at all. They don't dig a hole and leave the hole or anything like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So it's very, very minimally invasive to the property, so it should be an easy sell. The problem that I'm having is, I've got a lot of people who are saying, that is so cool, I'm really, okay, would you mind, oh, I'd be glad to help, would you like to go knock on somebody, no, I'm not knocking on somebody's door, I'm not doing that. You know, no, I don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's where I'm running into the
so,
problem, but what I'm asking you guys to help is get me names and contact information, and once I get a little bit of a list, I'll give it to these guys and they'll contact everybody and we'll get together and talk about it.
Okay, yeah, because when you sent that out initially, I think I gave you a couple of names,
Yes.
people that I knew.
Yeah.
So like, what's the next step? Do you want me to get me like?
What I want is I want an email in my email thing that's got the name and the contact information for anybody who's interested, you or somebody else that's interested in doing that. You can do that. You would be do that. I would accept you. I'm just kidding. As well.
I would be willing to knock on doors. I don't like getting signatures for things, but I'll knock on doors.
It would just be the standard form. That's all. And so if you're interested, my email is tblag@comcast.net.
Okay.
Just send me an email with your name and say, yes, I'd be willing to do that. I'll put you on this list, and then I'll give the list to these guys, and we're exchanging information with these archaeologists.
So what about putting something in the paper?
Well, that's a whole other thing that's going on as well.
Okay, yeah.
That's not something I'm doing, but other people are doing that.
And you're not the guy. Are you the guy?
I'm the facilitator
Okay.
for
all right.
Greenfield.
Okay. all
Yeah,
right.
that's all I'm doing, facilitating, but these other people who really know what they're doing, have been doing it for years,
Yes.
are the ones that are actually doing the work and doing the mapping and doing
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And, they're finding like musket balls that have textile patterns on them,
Crazy.
How big is a
Yikes.
basketball?
up to half an inch or
Yeah,
They're not like
60
buckshot.
caliber.
No,
They're
big
both.
like this.
They're
big.
both.
Oh, okay.
They're both.
Oh,
One of the standard loads in those days was what they call buck and ball.
oh yeah.
It was a ball with 4 or 5 buckshot in there as well.
Yeah.
And so they're finding both the large balls and the small balls. And as well, they're finding some other stuff. They found a carbine barrel with gunpowder residue in it.
Well,
They found, they're finding other things. And one of the problems with this whole survey deal is that everywhere in this whole area that's flat, well drained and near fresh water has artifacts in it. because people lived here for 15,000 years.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, I mean, you find stuff everywhere, and, but this particular stuff, they look at the particularly musket balls, because even though they were expended in hunting, there's a lot of these things. We're talking scores and scores and scores of musket balls, because this is a heck of a battle.
Yeah,
It went on all day long the next day.
yeah,
So there was a lot of shots fired
Mm.
in this battle.
yeah.
What was the year?
Hmm?
What year again?
1676.
Oh,
Dang.
100 years before.
Yeah, 1675 was King Philip's War. This was the second year of the war.
Oh, okay.
And the militia came from Hadley, collected other militia people. They came and camped in Greenfield overnight, and then they attacked at dawn down at the falls, where Turner's Falls is now. Different topography in those days, and attacked and killed probably 250, 300 people. Then the warriors, who were all over the place, counterattacked, and there was a running battle that went through the swamp and then came up through here and went all the way across the ford, across the Deerfield and down into Deerfield. Some of the militia were on horses, so there was a running fight that went right through here, and might have gone right through this building, I mean, where this building is today. And so all of that stuff, they're looking to chart all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And the original, the eventual thing is to try to say for the National Park Service to say this is designated as a battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what happened? Then it's,
Same thing as happens to every other historical designation. I mean, they put up signage, they do stuff.
yeah,
I mean, there's signs, but the signs are always, they're very hero-centric signs at this point.
right.
You know,
right.
here the gallant Turner died
Yeah.
defending him. So that kind of stuff. So some of it is that.
They'll
There-
fix that. They'll
Well, yeah,
change.
What, so what's the timeline for this metal detecting?
all summer and
It's
maybe
like
maybe
now.
next spring.
Do you have a map again? Can you?
Yes,
Share
but
that? No.
better than doing this, what I can do is, if you're interested at all, I'll
Well, I
send.
think Philip, my husband Philip loves King Philip's War and is fascinated by it, so he might.
He's sign him up. Tell him to give me his name and number, and he can get involved in it right up to his.
Yeah.
Right up to the swamp.
Okay, so.
Cool.
I mean, but this is the database of people, and you can see it's 8 pages long
Yeah.
of places that are of interest and who owns them. A lot of this territory is owned by the town.
Mhm.
The town has already given us permission,
What would you like to
you
do?
know, so that's proceeding. But it's what they produced so far is this really, really good report, and the report is available online. If you go to the Town Montague or the Montague Historical Society site, there's a link that takes you to these reports.
Yeah,
And they're 250 pages long, and they're absolutely gorgeous reports.
yeah, it's
Beautiful, full of maps, charts.
I'd like to see
Photographs.
some,
Montague Historic.
I'd like to see this in the paper, you know, like.
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
and
You know,
it's part of the deal. It'll be
Yeah,
done.
It will be done.
Oh, yeah.
So let me just read this, I got this today, I believe. This is from the National Park Service. Dear Mr. Basilia, the National Park Service has made its effects determination for a preservation planning grant funded project by the town of Montague and the town of Franklin. Preservation planning grants supports education, interpretation, preservation planning, research projects that contribute to the protection of historic battlefields and sites associated with armed conflicts in American soil. Attached is the effects determination signed by James Mudrick, the acting program manager for the Park Service American Battlefield Program, Protection Program. Please let me know if there's any questions I can answer, or if there's updated consultation protocols for your organization that they should be aware of.
They sent those out to all the commissions.
Yeah. So I just got that.
And we have memorandum of understanding with the tribes and so forth, and they're on board with all of this stuff. There's some other stuff going on as well. There's some questions of, there's some questions of what they call the Great Council Fires, where they met, the local tribes met to, or maybe tribes from all over New England met to decide how much farther they were going to press this war.
Hmm.
And there's some indication that was done towards Vernon.
No,
in this
Hmm.
area. But there's a lot of ifs, maybes, whens, possiblies
Yeah.
involved in that, because, you know, if there were council fires, they would have been in, maybe in a longhouse that was built temporary and it was gone.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff. So, and a council fire doesn't really mean council fire, it means sitting around and talking about stuff. So, you know, that's another question that's sort of roaming around the background, but it isn't a primary question of this effort.
yeah, okay,
Hmm.
very cool, dude.
Yeah.
So
Exciting.
please send me the email with your name and contact if you're interested in doing this, please, so that I can get this list. I want to get it to them as soon as possible, and I can add to it later on. But the sooner we could get started, because we're a little behind already because of the season and because of the Park Service is kind of dragging its feet over some stuff, and it kind of got started a little later.
Yeah, yeah,
And they didn't get the grant when it was a month later, so they'd like to get started, and I've had discussions today, 4 discussions already about this with the guys that are doing it, saying, you know,
fine,
can I give you some information? One of the things is all along the ridge there, all along Rocky Mountain,
yes,
that's one of the areas of interest,
really,
okay? Yeah, because high ground is a natural place to travel, so
yeah, right,
if you're up on the ridge. So I have that hiking map that I did, and I gave them that map, which shows a lot of the features that are there, like an old stone walls and things like that
yeah, right.
of interest. But
Hmm.
anyway, that's
But
it.
it is exciting to see this flesh out.
It
after
is.
so many
It is.
years.
It's really,
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are really good. They really do. I mean,
Right.
you see this report, it's gonna blow your away, because it's just such a good job.
Yeah,
They
well,
really
it's,
are good. These guys, their company does the kind of investigations when you're gonna do a construction project,
right,
and they go in and you know, say, you know, look to see if there's artifacts and stuff
yeah,
like
make
that.
yeah,
And one of the members is a Wampanoag who does that. That's all he does. That's his job for the tribe
Oh, wow.
in this area. He's all
Huh.
over this area all the time. Every time he attends a meeting, he's on his phone in his truck, because he's out somewhere overseeing these
Interesting.
excavations.
wow, well, it's very cool, and, you know,
Yeah,
anyway, so it's cool to see that happen.
that is, yeah, it really is.
Anything else, Tim, that you,
I am done.
you're done?
I am so done.
All right, I don't have anything else,
I would like to bring something up if I could.
so,
Sure.
I have something too.
yeah, get Margaret.
Okay, just an update on the survey and planning grant that we have.
Yes,
The mayor signed the contract, and so it's official. We haven't gotten the contract back from them, but anyway, the paperwork's done and the RFP is out for procurement. There weren't any questions. The proposals are due August 15th. So keep your fingers crossed that we get some proposals. If we don't, we'll probably have to extend the,
This is the updated survey.
yeah.
okay, cool,
So this is the $40,000 project
Yeah,
that will, I'll keep reporting every month because
Yeah, sure.
it's gonna have a lot of progress.
Sure.
coming up. So,
good.
So I just
Need to
lost,
get your, can you spell your name for me?
oh, it's Dawn, D-A-W-N,
Yeah.
and my last name is Morin, M-O-R-I-N.
I knew you were Don Moran, but I wanted to make sure I spelled your name right.
Yes, thank you.
My years in the newspaper business tell me that you have to spell people's names right.
Yeah.
Or they get really testy.
Yeah, so the last time that I followed up on the possibility of this meeting, the Historical Commission doing hybrid, it didn't go so well. And unfortunately, it was before we were recording, so nothing was on record. So I would like to again officially request that this committee use a building that is hybrid, it's available for hybrid. And now that we're, as a taxpayer who's spending all this money on the library and has building meeting rooms in it that are set with all the technology, I hope to see that we'll be utilizing that building, that huge building that we're paying for, and the technology inside of it to be more transparent with our meetings. I know that based on some of the other meetings I listened to, that they're still trying to work out the kinks, so I understand if it's not like next meeting or September, but I'm hoping that you guys will be open to moving these meetings so that you can do the hybrid and be more transparent with everything that's going on. I think they're leaning towards moving towards all the meetings, all committees there anyways,
Oh,
so,
be convenient for me.
Yeah, well, we'll look into it
Yeah.
and try to find out
Yeah.
what,
And we're probably gonna have to follow the lead of town hall, I would think,
yeah.
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 And it would be good for us to see the historic room.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there, but.
What,
I know, well, it's just that,
you talking about the Greenfield room?
yeah, right.
I was in there yesterday,
Yeah.
looking, yeah.
It
I-
needs work.
There's a lot of books in there, but they're not in any order.
Oh, wow.
No,
At
they just
this
kind of
point.
put the stuff in there.
They just put them in, they have copies of the history of Greenfield, but they're all over the place, different ones, so.
Yeah.
So I think that it needs to be organized into some, and I don't know if they use the, what kind of, I imagine they use the same system they use for everything else, in.
Yeah, I think that
Library.
there's gonna be some sort of.
Yeah, but right now, if you found a particular book in the catalog, you couldn't find it on the shelf,
Yeah.
so it needs to have that work
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. And it needs more artifacts around.
Yeah, there's nothing, nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
nothing
for
in
sure.
there. Yeah, and that's a good question as to whether that, who would do that and who would be responsible for
I
that.
know.
And so forth.
Which
And
librarian?
And while we're on that topic, that
Yeah.
new sign they put up at the head of the common, that's the same sign that they were talking about for the garage.
Oh, right,
But
right.
it has no-
Interactive.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
has no
I did
historical.
notice that.
It has no historical content on
I
it.
did notice that.
Oh.
It's like,
See?
how many years later?
Well, but I mean, the whole idea of that sign was it was gonna interact, one of the things was
That
gonna be
was
like
the
an
memorandum
introduction
of
to the
understanding
history
was
of the
that it was gonna
downtown.
be that,
And
yes.
it's a great place, it's right in the corner of the common, so you could do really stuff, but
It just appeared.
I don't know who,
It just appeared.
I don't know who is doing the content for that. I assume somebody in City Hall's doing it, but,
I saw Christian LaPlante.
you know?
there.
No, I just don't think it looks very good in our little town common that is so quaint, this big electronic television.
Yeah.
And I was
That's a whole other
shocked, I was on
question.
vacation, I came back and I took my bike out and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
I was surprised at that myself, but that, when the parking garage was originally envisioned, there was a kiosk that was planned for that, and we were gonna provide some of the content for that.
Right.
But that kiosk got cut in the budgetary stuff, and so it just disappeared.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this kiosk pops up on the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
don't
I
know
mean,
how that
it
happened.
American
doesn't necessarily
restaurants.
mean that there are two kiosks.
Yeah.
One is real, one was proposed. You
Yeah.
know, whether this one is that one or related to that one,
Or
probably
it
not.
could be.
It could be. It
Well,
should be.
Or if it
It
could
should
be, I don't
be.
know if it's interactive, I just think it's,
Yeah.
I think
I'm
it may
sure
just
that-
be
It
a,
is interactive, you go and you pay.
you can have touch on it?
Well, I saw somebody do
Okay.
that, I haven't done it
Or
myself.
you can
We-
pull out your phone and look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 We could,
Well,
yeah, because there were supposed to be QR codes and all that kind of thing
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
You know, we spent some time,
Yeah,
designing it, as I recall.
yeah, anyway,
Anyway, well, that's another question to look into.
yeah.
Well,
Um,
so
okay,
who do
okay.
we contact in town to figure out what the protocol will be?
I mean, I'll call the town and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. So they're gonna pen back, I'll write that down.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if there was some, going back to the library, if there were some tables in there, a table or a display case or something like that, then it wouldn't be very difficult to ask the society and the industrial heritage of people to
Display
provide,
cases like.
provide stuff in there, say,
Yeah.
would you do this for a month?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
would you-
No, I
whatever,
think
that would
so.
be no hard, but they'd have to have something where they could be secure.
Yeah,
If you put in artifacts in there and they wouldn't go someplace, but to do the
Alright.
signage and stuff like
Well,
that,
happy
but I
to
don't think that'd be
keep the
very difficult to
conversation going.
arrange if they're amenable to that. I don't know if they are.
Yeah, I mean, when I first went in there, I was thinking it would be great to have some,
Yeah.
some more artifacts. I mean,
Plenty of
obviously,
room.
they just kind of moved what they had, and
Yeah.
they didn't, they're
what
not
about an airplane?
an airplane.
Yeah.
Or the car that
The wing
we
flyer.
have somewhere,
Or the carriage,
Yeah.
the stagecoach, it's still sitting there,
Oh, wouldn't that be cool to put outside?
Yeah.
It would be cool to put somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it is somewhere, but somewhere
Before
where
it
people
falls
can see
apart.
it.
Right.
You know about the
Okay.
stagecoach?
I think I heard a little bit about this meeting,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
before it was brought up.
Yeah, it's sitting in a.
I loved the trolley
storage
thing and the old
unit.
home days thing that you guys did.
Oh, yeah,
That was so much fun.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Are we
Yeah.
doing it again? When is it? September, right, or October?
Yeah, it was like
It
during
was already
cider,
a year
like,
ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We should ask, Lucy.
Hard to say, they got a new,
Yeah.
they have a new head of that
Give me my pen
organization.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, but I think it's okay.
Uh,
Let me, I can,
Roberta, no.
We certainly wanna do that, I
Rachel,
mean, those
Robert.
tours, I used to do those tours all the time, and they're just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The feedback from the people on trolley was as much fun as talking, where people all had stories.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it's like, oh, yeah.
yeah, no, I think we should do, it
there,
should be
yeah, yeah.
an annual thing, like a traditional thing, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and you know, like we talked, you know, all that stuff, the walking tours and all
Sure,
that stuff.
sure,
like,
sure.
Yeah, we're not doing a very good job right around here about representing that stuff.
But
there's
we
been-
don't wanna have a table again, that didn't make sense.
Table didn't work,
It was fun, but
yeah, but it didn't really do much.
yeah,
Um,
it didn't sell any books.
okay,
I'm gonna have to pack up and go here.
all right, well, let's, I
Okay.
guess that's it
I
then.
move to adjourn.
I've got another
Second,
Anything more?
I'll second that.
meeting
All
out at
right.
the zoo.
Yeah, they
adjourn
asked him to record this
5:40.
across the